The room was cold, not from temperature, but from something deeper. The walls were dark and smooth, made of black metal that hummed softly. No windows. Only one dim light from above. Sergeant Mason sat in the center, chained to the floor. Blood had dried on his face. One eye was swollen shut. His uniform was torn and dirty, but his good eyes still burned with fire. An alien stood in front of him, tall, green-skinned eyes like a lizard. It wore armor with strange glowing lines. The name tag on its chest read, Commander Theric. "You are the last one," Theric said, voice sharp and cruel. Mason said nothing. "You watched them all die," the alien continued. "Burned, shot, crushed. Your people screamed. Yet you say nothing." Mason looked up slowly. "I say, go to hell." Theric's hand twitched. He wanted to hit the human again, but he stopped himself. "You confuse me, human," he said. "Your species is weak, soft, yet you do not break." "Then maybe you don't know us at all," Mason said with a grin. Theric turned and walked away. "Leave him," he ordered the guards. "He will beg soon enough." The door slid shut, and Mason was alone again. He looked up at the ceiling. His body hurt. His ribs were cracked. He hadn't eaten in days. But deep inside, something kept him alive, something the aliens didn't understand. Hope, somewhere else on the ship. Two guards talked in low voices. "Why do we still keep him?" the younger one asked. He looked nervous, his claws tapping against the wall. "The commander thinks he has information," the older one replied. "But the others are dead. Earth doesn't even know he's alive." The older guard stayed quiet for a second. Then he said something strange. "That's what we think." Far away beyond the stars, Earth had not forgotten. Admiral Rana stood in front of a large screen, her hands behind her back. Images played of a peaceful colony before the attack. Children laughing, families farming, smiles. Then the sky turned red. Alien ships came from the clouds. Buildings exploded. People ran, screamed, burned, and then silence. The video ended. The room was quiet. Officers around her stared, eyes wet and jaws tight. Rana spoke at last. "We confirmed it. Everyone is gone, all but one." "Sergeant Mason?" asked a young officer. "Yes, his signal was weak, hidden. But it was him, still alive." "Then we go after him," another said. Rana nodded. "No calls, no warnings. We move now." Back in the prison, Mason didn't know help was coming. He only knew pain and darkness. His mind drifted. Earth, the smell of rain, his daughter's laugh, the taste of real food. He heard footsteps. The door opened again. Another alien entered, smaller, younger, without armor. It was the same guard from before, the nervous one. "I brought you water," he whispered, placing a small cup beside Mason. Mason looked at him, confused. "Why? I don't know," the guard said. "Maybe because you're still human, even after all this." Mason drank slowly. The water was warm, but to him, it was life. "Thank you," he said. The guard nodded and left in space. Earth's fleet gathered hundreds of ships. Big, small, fast, heavy, all ready. They didn't speak of peace, not this time. This was personal. They had maps, coordinates, weak points, everything they needed. But they also had something more powerful, a reason. The alien commander Theric paced. His command deck, he stared at the stars through the window. "Why hasn't Earth responded?" he asked. "Perhaps they fear us," an officer replied. Theric smiled. "They should." But then the alarms began. A flashing red light, a loud siren. Unknown signals detected. Someone shouted. Hundreds of them. Theric froze. Where? Everywhere. Inside the prison, Mason felt the floor shake. The walls groaned. Distant booms echoed through the halls. He smiled. "They're here," he whispered. The fleet of Earth moved fast. One alien outpost vanished without warning. No survivors. Another was disabled in seconds. The ships didn't speak. They didn't ask for surrender. They only came for one thing. Mason, the rack, stood frozen in shock. "How did they find us?" he asked. "They must have tracked the humans. Signal. But it was hidden." "Not from them," the officer said. "These humans, they are not like before." Theric gritted his teeth. "Then we kill him." Now, the young alien guard ran through the hall. He knew what the commander planned. He reached Mason's cell and opened the door. "Get up," he said quickly. "They're coming, but you have to survive." Mason tried to stand, but collapsed. "Can't." The alien helped him lean on me. Mason stared at him. "Why are you helping me?" "Because not all of us wanted this war." Outside, the battle began. Earth's ships tore through defenses. Lasers, missiles, drones, all controlled with deadly precision. Alien ships exploded one by one. The command ship shook. Sparks flew. Theric screamed orders. "Fire, everything. It's too late." Someone yelled. Then the wall behind them exploded. Smoke, fire, noise. Human soldiers entered, armor shining, guns ready. "Where is Sergeant Mason?" One shouted. Thurok tried to shoot, but was shot first. He dropped to the ground. Lifeless, the young alien reached a side door with Mason. The hallway shook again. Then voices, human voices. "This way, there's movement." Mason looked up, over. Here he coughed. The soldiers rushed forward. Their leader knelt beside him. "Sergeant Mason, we've got you." Mason smiled weakly. "Took you long enough." They carried him out. The young alien guard stayed behind. Mason looked back. Their eyes met. He gave a small nod. The alien nodded too. As the rescue ship left the enemy base, Mason looked out the window. He saw the stars, the Earth ships, the destroyed alien fleet, and he knew one thing. Earth did not forget, and Earth never leaves one of its own behind. The rescue ship moved fast through space. Inside, the lights were dim and soft. Sergeant Mason lay on a clean bed, wrapped in a silver medical blanket. Machines beeped beside him. His face was pale, his body was weak. But he was alive, Captain. Ryland stood near him, arms crossed. She had sharp eyes, short hair, and a scar across her cheek. She watched the medic work. "He'll make it," the medic said. "But he needs rest." Ryland nodded. "He'll have it. We owe him that." Mason opened one eye slowly. His voice was rough. "You came." Ryland stepped closer. "You didn't think we'd leave you behind, did you?" A faint smile crossed his lips. "The others." Ryland's smile faded. "None made it out. Just you." Mason turned his face away. A tear rolled down his cheek. "They died for nothing." "No," she said. "They died as soldiers. And now the galaxy will know what happens when you kill our people." Far behind them, the wreckage of the Zirac prison station floated in space. Fires still burned inside its broken walls. Alien bodies drifted silently. Earth's fleet had left. Nothing standing. But that was only the beginning. On the bridge of the Earth flagship, Resolute, Admiral Rana looked at the large screen in front of her. Star maps glowed. Red dots marked destroyed alien outposts. Blue lines showed Earth's fleet paths. She turned to her officers. "We hit their outer bases. They know we're here. Now we strike the core." An officer tapped his tablet. "The Zerok throne world lies ahead. Heavy defenses, strong fleet." Rana's voice was cold. "We go in anyway." "But what if they beg for peace?" someone asked. She stared straight ahead. "Then we remind them who started this." On the Zerok throne world, panic spread. The capital city Galver was in chaos. The sky was full of smoke from burning war factories. Civilian transports filled the skies, trying to escape. Inside a tall black tower, Emperor Zalat stood surrounded by his war leaders. His long black robe dragged on the floor. His eyes burned with fear and pride. "How many of our ships remain?" he demanded. A general bowed. "We lost the outer ring, and most of our defense platforms." "They killed all our soldiers at the prison," another said. "One human survived. Now they come for us." The Emperor slammed his fist on the table. "How can one human cause such ruin?" A whisper spread across the room. "Because they came for him." On the Resolute, Mason sat in a medical chair now. His wounds were healing. His strength slowly returned. Ryland sat across from him. "I want to fight," Mason said. "You're not ready," she replied. "I don't care. I was there. I saw what they did. I won't sit this out." Ryland leaned forward. "We're going to their home, the throne world. This will be the biggest battle we've ever fought." "I know," he said, "and I want to see it." She paused, then nodded. "Then you'll ride with me." The fleet moved silently toward the THRONEWORLD. No speeches, no music, no cheering, just the hum of engines and the cold hunger of revenge. Mason stood in the armory now, wearing fresh armor. It was heavy but familiar. He looked at his helmet. On the side, the names of his fallen squad were printed in white. He closed his eyes and whispered, "This is for you." Back on the throne world, Emperor Zalat watched from his tower. "Why don't they answer our signals?" he shouted. "We sent peace messages." "They are not answering," a guard said. No reply, just silence. The Emperor's voice shook. "What kind of species are they?" A younger general replied softly, "The kind that remembers." The Earth fleet arrived. It spread across the sky like a black curtain. The people of Galver looked up in horror. Some cried, some prayed, some ran dot in the control room. Rana gave the order. "All ships hold." Officers looked at her in confusion. "Ma'am, let them look," she said. "Let them feel it. Let them understand." For 2 minutes, the Earth fleet stood still. No attack, no words, just presence. Then came the signal. Fire. Thousands of beams lit the sky. Zerak ships exploded in waves. Their defense towers melted. Fighters screamed across the sky, targeting weapons only no civilian homes. Earth was not like them, but it was enough. The message was clear. You touched one of ours. Now we touch everything you hold dear in the city below. A young Zerak child hid in a building with her mother. She looked up through a crack in the roof. Instead of fire, she saw one human ship land in the street. Its door opened. A small team of soldiers stepped out. They carried no weapons, just supplies. One of them knelt and offered a water bottle. The child blinked. This wasn't what she expected. Mason entered the throne tower with Rillen and her team. Dead guards lined the halls. The Emperor stood alone, surrounded by smoke. He raised his hands. "Please, no more. We surrender." Mason walked forward, his eyes full of fire. "You killed my people. You burned my friends. You laughed at our pain." The Emperor fell to his knees. "I didn't know it would go this far." "That's your mistake," Mason said. "You thought we were small, but we are Earth, and Earth does not forget." He turned and walked away. Rylan gave the signal. The Emperor was taken alive. There would be no execution. There would be trial. Justice. That was the Earth way as the sun rose over the destroyed capital. The Earth flag flew above the tower. Mason stood beside it, helmet in his hand. Beside him, Rillen looked across the broken city. "Think they'll ever try again?" she asked. Mason shook his head. "No, they know now." And far below, in shelters and ruins, the aliens stared at the flag. Some in fear, some in respect, but all of them understood one thing. Earth came for one of its own, and Earth never comes alone. The throne world was quiet now. The fighting had stopped. The smoke had cleared. Most of the Zerak fleet was gone, destroyed, or captured. The black towers of Galver still stood, but they were scarred and broken. Inside one of those towers, Sergeant Mason sat in a dark room, staring at a data screen. It showed the faces of his old team, his friends who died during the first attack. He touched one name gently. Corporal Janice. She had been like a sister to him, always cracking jokes, always ready to fight. She'd laugh if she saw this, he whispered. She'd say, "Told you Earth wouldn't take it quietly." The door opened. Captain Rylan stepped in. "Fleet Command wants you." Mason stood slowly. His body was still sore, but his mind was sharp. "What's going on?" he asked. Rylan's face was serious. "We found something bigger than we thought." On the bridge of the flagship Resolute, Admiral Rana stood before a large display. The hologram showed a dark sector of space, its charted hidden. "We cracked the Xerox data core," she said. Turns out, this war didn't start on the throne world. It started in Sector Z9. Mason stepped closer. "What's there?" "Something." "The Xerox were building a fleet. A weapon. We don't know yet, but it was meant for Earth." One of the officers zoomed in on the map. "We think they plan to strike multiple colonies at once." What happened at Kaiser Point was only the test. Mason clenched his fists, so they were going to wipe us out completely. Rana nodded. That was the goal. But now we know. And we move first. Meanwhile, deep in Sector Z9, a secret Xeric station floated near a dead moon. Inside, a massive warship was under construction, 10 times larger than anything Earth had seen. Xeric scientists rushed across the decks, arguing, in whispers, they've taken the throne world. One said, "So what? We're safe here." "No, you fool. If they find us, it's over." A dark figure stood in the shadows. General Vorex, one of the few survivors from the throne world. He stared out the window at the stars. "They will come," he said, "and when they do, we will show them the true wrath of the Xerok." Back on the resolute Earth's War Council gathered in a steel meeting room. No music, no ceremony, just a table, chairs, and maps of space. Admiral Rana turned to her team. "We strike Sector Z9 tomorrow. We'll hit them fast, and we'll finish this war." One officer looked nervous. "They'll be expecting us now. This isn't a prison or a city. This is their hidden base." Rylan nodded. "Which is why we'll bring everything we have." Mason looked around the room. "We go in loud. They started this war, we end it." The fleet moved through space again, silent and deadly. Thousands of ships jumped at once. Lights flashed across the stars. Engines burned blue. Inside each ship, soldiers checked their weapons. Pilots warmed up their fighters. Tech crews loaded the bombs. Everyone knew this was the final mission. Inside his ship, Mason looked at a photo he carried in his armor. It showed his team on their last mission before the attack. Smiling, laughing, he whispered to them now, "I'm still here, and I'm bringing the fire." At the edge of Sector Z9, the Earth fleet arrived. The hidden station lit up with red lights. Xerok ships swarmed out from the shadows like hornets. "Fast, deadly, angry. Contact in 3 seconds," said a voice on the comms. 2. Mason grabbed his rifle. 1. Engage. The sky exploded. Lasers flashed in every direction. Ships collided and spun out of control. Fighters darted. Between cruisers, leaving trails of fire on the ground, Earth Marines dropped onto the secret station. Boots hit metal. Guns roared. Mason ran with Rillin at his side. Behind them, Earth troops covered both flanks. They moved through the station, fast clearing hallway after hallway. Xerok warriors screamed and attacked, but Earth's training and weapons were stronger. Suddenly, the floor shook. A deep rumble filled the air. "What was that?" Rylan asked. A tech officer called through comms, "They're powering up the megaship." Inside the enemy hangar, the massive Xerok warship began to rise. Lights glowed across its hull. Engines heated up. General Vorex stood on the bridge of the ship, watching it come alive. "If we can launch," he said, "we can still destroy Earth. One strike, one message." But then explosions rocked the ship's underbelly. Alarms screamed. There, inside, a technician shouted, "Humans have breached the power core." Mason and Rillin fought their way through a long corridor. Smoke filled the air. Blood covered their boots. They reached a giant metal door. Behind it, the ship's power. "Center, this is it," Mason said. "They placed charges on the door." Rillin asked. He smiled. "I've been ready since Kaiser Point." Boom, the door flew open. Xerok guards fired from inside. Mason dove left, Rylan went right. Grenades flew. Screams echoed, then silence. Mason stood, bleeding but alive. He limped to the core and looked at the control panel. "We can overload it," he said. "But we have to move now." They set the countdown. 5 minutes, then they ran. Above the station, the Earth fleet kept fighting. Admiral Rana's voice echoed across the comms, "Get out of there. All units, fall back. Core explosion imminent." Ships began to pull back. On the station, Mason and Rylan reached the exit ramp. But behind them, more Xerok soldiers appeared. "Go," Rylan shouted. "I'll cover no," Mason said. "We go together." They turned and fired, pushing through the enemy. A shuttle dropped from above, hatch open. "Jump," someone shouted. They dove inside just as the platform crumbled beneath them. From space, the station began to glow, then dash, boom. A shockwave blasted outward. Pieces of metal flew in all directions. The massive Xerok warship split apart in a fiery wave. Debris burned across the stars. Earth's ships turned and watched. Then, silence. It was done hours later. Mason sat on the Resolute, watching the stars. Rillin sat beside him, cleaning her rifle. You think it's over? She asked Mason. Nodded slowly. For now, we still have enemies. Yes, he said. But now they know Earth stands for its own. We don't start wars, but we finish them. She smiled. You're not bad with speeches. He looked at her. I wasn't trying to make one. They sat in silence for a while. Far beyond, the stars kept burning. But now, the galaxy was different. One man had survived, and Earth had brought the fire. The battlefield was quiet, not because the war was over, but because what remained was broken. Pieces of the Xerax superstation floated in space like shattered bones. Fires burned on the surface of wrecked ships. Human and alien wreckage drifted. Silently inside the Earth Fleet's medical ship sanctuary, the smell of burnt metal and antiseptic filled the air. Rows of wounded soldiers lay in white beds, connected to machines. Sergeant Mason lay among them. His eyes were closed. His face was pale. His breathing slow. Captain Ryland sat beside him, arms crossed, bruises on her face. She hadn't left his side since the explosion. A medic approached quietly. He's stable now, but he needs time. Ryland nodded. He'll wake up. He has to. Outside, on the resolute, Admiral Rana stared at a hologram. It showed the galaxy map Earth's fleet, marked in blue. The Xerox systems were in red, but now most of them blinked gray. Reports from the ground? She asked. A junior officer answered, Our forces are still finding survivors, both human and Xerox, some civilians, some hidden labs. But we haven't found Vorex's body. Rana narrowed her eyes. She looked to her communications officer. Prepare a message, galaxy-wide, broadcast everything, in a hidden part of the galaxy, deep underground. General Vorex opened his eyes. He lay in a dark recovery pod, breathing through a mask. His left arm was gone, burned, replaced by a metal stump. A shadow moved near him. You survived, the voice said. Vorex coughed. Barely. The voice belonged to a tall alien in a silver robnot Xerox. I warned your kind, the alien said. Do not touch Earth. You didn't listen. Vorex tried to sit up. We were strong. We were winning. No, the alien replied coldly. You were blind. There are others who still hate the humans, but this time we'll do it smarter. 3 days passed. Mason finally opened his eyes. He blinked at the lights, the ceiling, the beeping of the machines. Ryland was still there. She looked at him, tired but smiling. Welcome back. He tried to speak. His throat was dry. She handed him water. He drank, then whispered, Did we win? She nodded. The station's gone. So is the weapon. Earth's fleet is intact. You were lucky to make it. He grinned weakly. Luck's never been my thing. Later, he stood on the observation deck with her, wearing a recovery suit. Outside, the stars glittered. Ships were still moving, still working. You think they're scared now? He asked. Not scared, Ryland replied. Respectful. He raised an eyebrow. Same thing. A silence passed between them. Then Mason said, We should go back to the throne world. Finish what we started. Ryland looked at him. 2 days later, Mason Ryland rebuilt in pieces. Civilians walked carefully in the streets, unsure of what peace looked like. A group of Xerox leaders stood waiting. No armor, no weapons. Mason stepped forward. We didn't come to threaten you. The head speaker bowed his head. You came to speak of peace. Mason looked around. I came to ask why. You thought killing us would stop that, Mason asked. We thought fear was power, the speaker said. That is who we are. The speaker raised his hand. Then maybe, in the days that followed, Earth forces helped rebuild what they had once destroyed. Water, food, medicines, sent to alien cities, not for war, but for healing. Some humans questioned it. Why help them? One soldier asked. They killed our people, the ones who spared me. They gave us a reason to show something better. The soldier looked unsure, so we forgive. Them no, Mason said. We remember, but we also rise higher. One night, Mason stood outside the Earth Embassy, looking up at the stars. Ryland joined him. Peace feels strange. She said, Strange is better than burning, he replied. She nodded. We've sent home a signal. They're planning a memorial. You gave them justice. No, he said. Earth did. In a far part of the galaxy, a new shadow gathered. The robed alien from before sat in a dark council room. Around him, leaders from other species, cold, cruel, silent, they grow stronger. One said, they unite, said another. But they bleed, said the robed figure, and anything that bleeds can still fall. He raised a small object. It was a piece of Mason's bloodied armor. We will find the crack in their armor, he whispered. And next time, we won't strike at one human. He smiled. We'll strike at their heart. Back on the throne world, Mason stood before a new monument. It showed a human soldier and a Xerac civilian standing side by side. Below, the words were simple. One was spared. Many were saved. Let it never happen again. He stared at it for a long time. Then he turned and walked away. Into the light of Earth's ship waiting for him. The ceremony on Earth was quiet. No cheering, no music, just silence. People from all over the world stood together in Unity Square, heads bowed. A silver wall rose high in front of them, clean and shining. Names were carved into it, hundreds of names. Soldiers, scientists, children, civilians. Sergeant Mason stood at the front, wearing his full uniform. His face was calm, but his hands were shaking. The memories were heavy. Kaza Point. His team, the prison, the war. He stepped forward and placed a small medal beneath the wall. For Janice, he said softly, and the others. We didn't forget. Behind him, the crowd stood silent. The president of Earth gave a short speech. We came together, not because we were strong, but because we were wounded. And we answered not with hate, but with action. Applause came soft and respectful. But Mason wasn't smiling. He knew the war had ended on paper, but something darker still waited in the stars. 2 weeks later, it wasn't Xerac. It was something else, encrypted, ancient, but powerful. Admiral Rana sat with her team in a dark room, but your flame can still be put out. Then silence. Rana turned to her officers. Who is it? We don't know, ma'am, one replied. But whoever they are, they've been watching us for a long time. Rana stood. Then, let's remind them, we don't run. Mason was on leave when the news came. He sat in a small cabin in the mountains, far from the cities, far from command. He drank hot coffee and watched the snow fall. It felt peaceful, almost normal. Then the message arrived from Captain Rylan. You're needed again. This isn't over. He closed the message and stared out the window. So much for peace. In a hidden station near the edge of known space, Earth has become a symbol, he said. Other species look to them. Their victories inspire rebellion. We must destroy that symbol, another voice replied. But they are strong now, feared. That's why we must strike the heart. Not a colony, not a soldier, their soul. A third figure added, what if we turn their greatest strength into their weakness? More guards, new tech, faces full of worry. He entered the meeting room. Ryland and Admiral Rana were waiting. Rana nodded. We're glad you came, Mason sat. You think it's real, the threat, Ryland answered. We believe so. And it's not just a threat, it's a test. Of what? Mason asked. Our unity? Our fear? Our response? Mason leaned forward. Find who was watching. End it before it became war. A task force was formed, small, fast, deadly. Mason would lead the ground team, Rylan would fly the carrier ship, Rana would command from orbit. They jumped into unknown space, far beyond the charts. What they found wasn't what they expected. The source of the signal was not a base, not a fleet. It was a planet, dead, hollow, covered in ice. But under the surface, snow, watching as a tall black structure rose from beneath the ice. His radio crackled, getting high-energy readings, said the Texer. This isn't a weapon, it's a message. The structure lit up. A hologram appeared, a human figure, tall, clean, perfect, but not real. It spoke, you are not the first. You will not be the last. Earth is strong now, but strength leads to pride, and pride leads to downfall. Mason narrowed his eyes. Who are you? We are the ones who watched your kind crawl from the mud, who watched your music, your stories, your wars, your grief. Then why send threats? Mason asked. Because peace makes you forget what danger feels like. Ryland's voice came through. We're under attack. Mason turned to his team. We hold this line no matter what. Earth's soldiers formed a circle on the snow, firing at shadows in the fog. The machines were fast metal claws, red eyes, strange shapes, but the humans fought harder. Grenades, lasers, knives, the snow turned red and black in orbit. Admiral Rana gave the order, "Send reinforcements." Rana clenched her fists. This wasn't a trap. It was a test, and we're passing. On the surface, Mason pushed forward through fire and ice. He reached the central tower and planted a charge. Ryland's voice came again. "You sure about this?" "I'm sure." He pressed the trigger. The tower exploded, shaking the world. Light blasted into the sky. And just like that, smoke still rose. Rillin walked up, her face covered in soot. "You okay?" she asked. He nodded slowly. "Yeah, just tired." Mason looked up at the stars. "They'll come again." "Someone always does," Rillin smiled. "Then Earth will be ready." He nodded. "We always are." Back on Earth, the message from the battle spread across human space. Aliens who once feared Earth now respected them. Some even reached out asking for peace, for alliance, for unity. Humanity had become more than a name. It had become a warning and a promise. One human had been spared. Earth came with fire, and now the stars knew the truth. If you hurt one of us, you face all of us.